How cool are these cupcake toppers? Those letters look like helium balloons and they will make a wow factor on your cupcakes. I'm going to show you how you can make cake toppers just like this to decorate your cupcakes. So I'm working with ordinary fondant, and the key thing to start off with is make sure that you knead your fondant properly. Kneading your fondant makes it pliable, easy to work with. So you'll know that your fondant is well kneaded when you stretch it. It should be pliable and pull without breaking. Do not skip this step. It will make everything easier. As you can see, I'm working on a silicone mat which is non-stick, and I've also sprinkled with corn flour, or you can use icing sugar. Next, you're going to take a piece of fondant and you're going to roll it out into a long, thin, sort of a sausage shape fondant. You can either use your hands or you can use a fondant smoother, whichever works best. Make sure you have a long length that is the same thickness all throughout. And then next you're going to bend the fondant into your shape. So I formed the letter M, and then I'm just using my fondant tools to do the finishing touches. You want to smoothing any rough edges with your fondant tool, creating the shape just like that. So there I am using the ball end just to kneading the edges of the letters. And you can see the advantage of creating a long sausage, because then you can create multiple letters from one piece of fondant. Now, this works well for the letter MUM. Some other letters might be trickier to form, but you can still make it work. If you're working with fondant and you haven't got these fondant tools like this, they're pretty inexpensive and they are invaluable for working with fondant. So different tips will be used to do different patterns and designs on your fondant. So once you have created your letters, you are going to use one of the tools that has a pointy edge to create some folds and indents on the balloon. So if you look at a helium balloon, you'll see that it has these folds and indents. So this is what we're mimicking and trying to create. And it will just give you a realistic looking fondant decoration. I hope that you are enjoying this tutorial. If you've not subscribed to my channel, you are missing out. Do subscribe now. Another key thing that you need is edible glue, because you're going to use this to stick the next part onto the fondant. So edible glue is very useful. If you don't have edible glue, you can also use piping gel. So again, we're going to create another piece of fondant. This time you want it to be much thinner compared to your letters. This is going to be used for the outline of your letters. So take a small fine brush and just brush the side of your letters all over, both the inside and outside, well into the creases. You don't need a lot of glue, just a little bit. And then next, you're just going to use the small piece of fondant to basically outline the inside and outside of your letters all throughout. Use a fondant tool to make this easier and to avoid causing damage to your letters, and go all the way around. If you make a long piece of fondant for the outline, this makes the process much easier. Once you've done that, then you just stick the fondant on, and then you're going to then also use that same indent tool that we started off with to create more prominent indent. You can use the indents of the actual letters and then just go through that again. Again, you're trying to create the effect of a helium balloon. Depending on the type of fondant you use, some fondants can be quite soft. So if you find doing this bit quite difficult and you find that it's damaging the initial letter, then you could leave the fondant letter for a while to harden before then applying the indenting outline. So before then applying the outline to the balloon. This makes it easier to work with. Or if you have modeling paste is a type of fondant that will keep its shape and harden, and you can use that instead. But if you just have regular fondant, you can also use that and make it work. So here is the finished letters. It's starting to look really nice and beautiful. And we're going to add some finishing touches, which is to add some edible dust to give it a nice look. I'm mixing red and some bit of dark black glitter to just give it some extra sparkle. Now I've put some Rejuvenator Spirit and I'm just going to paint that all over the fondant decorator. Rejuvenated Spirit is something that you use to make edible food paint, and it will allow the food dust to stick to your letters. Next, just take a brush and just dust all over the outside. You will see that the dust will stick onto your lettering and it will make it look nice and shiny, just like a helium balloon. Once you've done this step, you're going to allow it to set and for that to fully dry. Next, we are going to prep the cake topper itself. So I'm using white fondant. You can use any fondant. Roll it out with your silicone rolling pin until it's nice and flat. You want to aim for some decent thickness, and not too thick, but certainly not too thin. Otherwise, it'll be hard to handle. Smoothing any imperfections with your fondant smoother. And then the next thing that you need is you need a circular cutter. So the one that I'm using is a 2.5 inch, which is roughly the size of my cupcake. If you don't have a circular fondant cutter, you can use any circular object that's the same size as your cupcake to create that. And I quite like this topper because it has two sides. You can have the fluted end, which I'm using, or you can have the pure circular end. Whichever that you want to use works, but I just like this because it adds an extra pizzazz. Leave this to dry for a little bit so that it becomes a little bit stiff, and then you can continue with the rest of the decorating. Again, you're going to get out your edible food glue, your edible glue, and you're just going to paint a little of that onto the middle bit of your fondant. And this is going to allow for your letters to stick on. Now, because you've used edible food dust, I will say be very, very careful when you are transferring your letters. Make sure that you have dusted off any excess dust so that it doesn't get onto your cake topper and ruin the effect. And gently just place it on there, tap it down gently for a little bit just so that it sticks to the fondant, and then just leave to dry and set for a bit before then putting it onto your cupcake. So let's take a moment to admire our beautiful work. It looks absolutely stunning. And you can see you can create whatever letters. So this is Mum for Mother's Day. You can create a name. You can spell out happy birthday. The list is endless and they look pretty groovy and a little bit more elegant than your plain lettering. So make sure that you try this at home.